Welcome back to another video. We are now in 2024. What I am going to do today is going to be a quite short one. I'm going to do a bit of cleanup in here, so I need to get all the dust up from the ground so that we have a clean working space. Then I need to take down that side of the wall here, going all the way down to behind me here. It's actually over here. Where it splits into becoming a nail board, and this is also where the staircase will start. I think it's quite hard to see on the video. And another thing I am going to do today is I am going to rip out the floorboards that we have in the back over here, and I think a couple of these are a bit rotten, so I just need to have a look underneath them, and then I'm going to patch them with the board I showed you yesterday, this one. And some plywood, because that has the thickness of the floorboards that are currently in. So that is what I need to get done today. I think it's going to be a relatively short one. I probably haven't told you this, but my plan is to get this room up here done as the first thing. So I want to rebuild up the structure of the skeleton for the ventilation area here, and we need to put some plasterboard up there at the very top. That's going to be completely fine. After I've done that, I'm going to close the walls that you see down here, the ones where I've opened it up for ventilation. However, before I can start doing that, I want to treat it with some fungus killing liquid, sort of to say, just to ensure that I want to spray it with some mold killing liquid, because I want to ensure that there's no mold left in the building, because I don't want to reopen it up again. I feel like this has been a way bigger of a task than I expected it to be. I literally just expected me to come up here, do another coat of plaster to cover in sort of like the smoke from the previous tenants, and then simply just sanding it down, painting it, and then this up here would be ready to go. But it has turned out to be a much bigger project than anticipated in the first time. So now we're doing it all properly, and I will need to order some materials that will hopefully come before next weekend, so we can get started with the materials next week. And that's why I want to have the entire room prepped for me to be able to lay down the floorboards. Once the floorboards are down, I can build the skeleton. Once I've built the skeleton, I can plasterboard it. Once I've plasterboarded it, this area is sealed, so I'm not disturbing the other tenants that are living here in the building. And we also have a structurally sound and waterproof ventilation area with no mold in it at all. And I can refill in the insulation, plasterboard that area up there, and then it's simply just putting up the internal plasterboards and building up the walls internally here to fit in the doors and all of that kind of things. I'm hoping for this upstairs to be done by the end of January. I'm only working on this in the weekends, and I'm calling in some help to get it sorted. So I'll be bringing a couple of friends for the next few weekends that will come out here and help me with doing bits of bobs everywhere. And then hopefully my brother will also help me, and my dad will help me. But only time will tell on those parts. Otherwise, I'll definitely crack on myself and bring my girlfriend as well, so we can work on it together. And once all of this upstairs here is done, I'm looking very much forward to that. Then we can start focusing a bit more on downstairs, and I'm hoping downstairs that there are not going to be too many surprises as what we've seen up here. The only surprises I'm expecting downstairs are the ones that I've already seen. So yeah, really good. I think I'll start a time lapse now of me just cleaning the entire floor, and then we'll get going for the day. Yeah. Right. So I've just removed the. Oh, it's a bit wobbly over here. But I've just removed the 3 pieces that you see right here, and when I'm looking underneath it, it actually looks alright. I've got the worst piece is this one that you see right here, and as you can see, there's not really any mold growing underneath it. Let me just test the moisture of it. So it says, I'm not so sure if you can see it if I come a bit closer to the screen. It says around about 10. So completely bone dry this stuff. What I want to double check is I want to have a look at this and see. I expect this to be dry. It's about 11%, and the other side also about 11%. I see a bit of green mold growing on the beam here. It's basically in this area on each side. So once what I'll do is, instead of patching the area just now, I'll just prep it for being patched. So I just need to push it down with a few screws. But instead of doing it right now, I'll leave it open so that when I have the mold killing liquid, I'll spray that on, and we can then patch it, because then it's going to be fixed. And the thing is also, since we've stopped the source of the water, there's not going to be any more mold growing underneath it as it is right now. However, what I noticed when I put my head down there and used it as a dust brush was the beam that we have sort of running beneath this one is, so I've got a beam running here, I've got a beam running there, I've got a beam running there, and they are similar on the floor here. What I noticed was that that one looks a bit damp. So what I'll do is, now I've measured it up here, and I'm going to cut out a piece that we can then refit back into the element. I don't want to throw it all out, but I want to get this device down and check the moisture percentage of that beam that is running across here. And then I'm probably also going to check over there in that area, because in that area it looks to be quite wet. I'm just going to turn the camera and flick it down so that you can see it. Alright, so the water that you see right there is basically just me spilling it from one of the radiators, so don't worry about that one. However, I think it looks a bit wet down here. We might as well just go. Right, so this is not good, because that one says 20%. The perfect solution, the entire perfect solution would be to rip out the entire floor and reinforce a new one, or reinstate a new one. However, this is a rental property for me, and if this were to be the perfect solution to everything, it would only be something I would be doing if I were to live here myself. But instead of just covering this up, I need to investigate it further. I need to ensure that we don't have any water coming in anymore, and I think we don't have that anymore now that we've patched that area up there. So it doesn't look the best, but it doesn't look the worst either. It reads 14.2, and if I do the same thing somewhere over here, or if I do the same thing somewhere in the wood right here, it still reads around about 12 to 14. So bottom line of the readings I've just done down there is that I'm not too worried about that beam sagging right there. What I am concerned about though is the reading of 20%. That was in that area right here, so you can see underneath here. Right, so I think, and I'm pretty sure on this, that these boards are continuing all the way out to the end of the floor here, meaning that moisture might have run in that direction out towards the roof, and it has clearly also run sort of in that direction right here. What has happened is that the water has been coming in from above me here. It's been running on to the beams, it's been running down, it's been running in that direction. I've got a bit of mold up there, but it's dry now. It's been running down these beams. It was running in on this beam right here, and then at some point it actually fell down, like literally right here, where the previous guys that were renting this apartment actually had their bed. I have a photo of that one where they've got complete water in the bed. I'll put a photo in right here. so that you can see that the water was running in. It was then patched, so this was the issue that happened 4 years ago, as I've previously mentioned. What has then happened on top of that is that water has continued, so it ran this way, it continued running down some of the beams. I've taken out quite a lot of them already that were rotten. Take it down, it's been running down the back of it, in here, all the way down, and I can actually see that if I'm putting this measure device, I don't know what you call it in English, it's called tomstock in Danish. You see that one looks a bit damp, that one is looking a bit damp, and then I'm sure that it's just been running underneath here, where I can also see that the floor is bending a bit upwards, meaning that it's definitely been damp underneath here. So what's the right thing to do? The right thing is to strip down this, take up this floorboard, figure out how much mold that there is, and then patch that area. Just rip it out and replace it. The more I open, the worse it gets. Oh, I expected me just to do a bit of cleaning today, and then I could go home to Copenhagen and relax for the afternoon. All right, I don't get anywhere by complaining, so I better get going with it. I'm terribly sorry, but I have to come out with this rant, so to say, by the guys that renovated this apartment back in 2001, because the way that they've done it, the way that they've structured up this wall, sort of like this leaning wall next to the roof, is beyond what my understanding is of it. And I'm no builder by no means. I'm not a builder by any means, but I do have a way of being able to see the logic in things, and this one I see absolutely no logic in at all. Let me show it to you in a second here. So as you can see, we have these. If I go a bit back, you can see these are the big 4x4 beams that are carrying the entire roof. All right, so it goes across there from one side to the other, and then it goes all the way up until the top of the roof and meeting up there and going down. So it's a simple A structure, right? Then you've got some other 4x4s that are then carrying on a bit more of the pressure. We've got a big one there that is only just broken down by the window there, and then it continues on the other side, goes down. I imagine that we're going to have some big 4x4s laying down below the insulation down there. And you're also seeing big 4x4s going down here across. So it's a few sort of like A sections going there. There's another A cross going down there. So the structure of it is relatively simple. How I would envision that you would be doing a leaning wall like this, and I know that there are some regulations as to how much insulation should be between the wall and the roof. I think it's about 250 or 300 millimeters, and it's completely fine. Most of what I've taken out has been sort of like, I think this was like 150, and you could also add another 150 on top of that one. However, how I would do it, how I envision I would do it, is I would put in some, I think, by the way, these are what, 1x2 bolts. One thing is they're too small. Second thing is I would put on some bigger ones, and I'd do like a 45-degree angle going from here all the way up until the next beam, or put in like a bracer that you see up here. So I'd probably put in a 2x4 on here, or sort of like put it here and go all the way up there to the beam. And I'll do that on each of the beams going up here. So I think the only way that they've done it correctly is sort of like, I think it's done correctly here. And then you'd insulate on the back of it, add on the plasterboard, join them all up together, and put on the rest of the painting elements that goes on top of it. However, the way that they've structured this, it's just beyond my belief. I do somewhat get it down here because they need to sort of like finish it in the right way. They're not just going out directly. But I need to look into it. In all fairness, I need to look into it, and my best guess is that my brother will have a good and strong opinion as to what a bodge job this has been. I'm only going to strip this wall. I'm not going to strip the other wall down there. It's going to be pointless because there's no water damage down there. But now, since we've opened it all up here and I've seen the fungus growing underneath the floorboards and that kind of thing, I'm going to strip this entire wall. I might be looking at replacing that Velux window that you see right there, because I think it's a bit old. It's a bit tired out here. So I might as well, whilst I'm at it, fix that one, because I think that one can be fixed from the inside. I don't think that we have to hire a lift again. And if we need to hire a lift again, well, I'll just hire it for one day, and then the carpenter could come and fix that window as well. All right, I'll continue breaking down this wall so that we can get down to these boards down there and see how rotten they are. And I'm afraid to say this, but see how far along it goes on the left hand side. Again, I'm terribly sorry about the rant, but I had to get it out because it just goes beyond my belief. Now back to the time lapse. Sorry, but I'm continuing the rant now. Again, it must have been the first job this guy has renovated a property, because you can see he hasn't cut it to the right length, so you had to fill it up with something in the back of it for it to sort of like be straight. I mean, what is this? Seriously, how can you? What I'd do is I'd scrap that one then, or I'd save it for later and I'll use it somewhere else, and then I'd go and cut another one that fits the size, instead of this half-ass job that's been done right here. All right, enough about the rant for now. I've completely opened up this area, and as expected, I'm just going out there. You can see we have the floor going all the way out to where the roof is finishing. All right. Good news, positive news, is that the only water I can see is running a bit in under here, but not too much. And then it just runs all the way down here. So what I'll do is I'll take out this board, the first one here. I'll take out that one, and I need to have a look underneath it. And I'll probably need to get them replaced, which is a bit annoying. But you got to do what you got to do. It is what it is. Bit annoying, bit tedious, but at least now everything's open, and we can see what this mess is. Good thing is it doesn't really, from what I can see right now, I don't want to. We have a saying in Denmark that says, you don't want to sell the skin of the bear before the bear's been shot, and I don't want to do that before I've been able to see how far down it goes, and I've had it confirmed that there's not moisture running in that direction too much more. But I did find some, so I took down the plasterboard right there, and again, as you can see right there, of course a bit of mold. And when I took out some of the ones that were standing up straight, you can see one standing up straight. Some of these, I call them studs, but there's not studs. Have a look at how they're looking at the bottom of it. This is not the right color it's supposed to have. It should have this color. So I will fix it. Also, I saw a bit of again over here in some of the floorboard wood. I just did with the moisture, the small device that I use to measure the moisture. I just stuck it into the wall, into the floorboard there again. Did it here, did it a couple of times, and one of the readings was 20%, which is again too high. So I do suspect something growing underneath this. Hopefully not as bad as what we saw right here in that area. But yeah, we'll get to see when we open it up. I'll do that now. Right, I have now opened up the areas over there where I saw some water markings on the floorboards. I have, as you've just seen in the time-lapse video, I have just used a multicolor. I've used a saw to open it up to be able to assess the level of the beams, sort of like see if the big structural beams, the A beams that are going across the entire second floor, what the state is of those ones. I have used the small measuring device here as well to test the water moisture level of the beams, and it actually seems to be very good. So I'm very, very pleased. I also just called my brother and asked him on his opinion on it. It's something that means quite a lot to me. The first great news is that I don't see any mold underneath it. The second good news is that I don't smell any mold either. So the only thing I smell when I'm cutting this timber and when I'm also looking at the boards, I'm going to show it to you in a second, is just sawdust and cut wood. So I think that the solution for now is simply just to close up these holes. I've just got one of the boards here so you can see the back of it. There are some markings from the water, as you can see here, some markings running down there. But if I look on these sides and on the other side, on the top of it, this was what made me worried. And I can obviously test it. If I'm chucking this one in here, it's going to say somewhere between 15 and 20%, which is a bit too high. It should be less than 15%. Some places it's going to say 20. But this is going to dry out over time because we've stopped the water from coming in from up there. So therefore, I'm quite confident in just patching this area with the same boards. I don't need to patch it with something different. I'll just patch it up because we're going to put new floorboards on top of it. That is going to secure the entire second floor and ensure everything's going to be level, so that I can put some laminate flooring on top of it in the long run. I'm very happy about the discovery I've made today on this piece. Because I was afraid of the water. First thing, I was afraid of the water being running that direction, and it's going to be a mess working in that we've got the insulation and etc. And I was also afraid that we would have fungus growing underneath it, as I saw was the case over here in that area. So good news, I think we can actually close off this wall. There's another piece of good news, is that there's not too much running in that direction. So I'm safe to start closing up this wall and build it up again, which is probably something I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. But I might as well get started with a new time lapse so you can see me patch the flooring, and then we can close it up and we can give it a good clean, because that's the next stage. Alright, the entire floor has now been swept. Everything's clean. I've patched that one down, otherwise I couldn't be standing here. It's not millimeter precise, but I'm going to put some big OSB floorboards on top of this. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to glue them down and then screw them down afterwards. And that will be the project that will be starting hopefully next weekend, or at least that's what my plan is to get started next weekend. In the meantime, I have literally just had a visit from my uncle and my cousin Mikkel, who was also helping out with the project outside when we were laying down when we were shoveling all the dirt and laying down the tiles for where the bins are from outside, and we were just having a chat about everything. My uncle has also been renovating his own property. They have a big farm where they've renovated a lot of stuff over the past 15 years. So he knows a thing or two about the renovation, and we walked through the entire apartment here, and he has some lower standards than I have. So I just need to consider my options in that sense. However, he did say something quite specific, and that is, as I mentioned earlier, you need to have 30 millimeter insulation from the roof and out to where the wall starts. And if I push in my element here, then 30 millimeter insulation from the roof is round about this area. And if I go over here and check on this one, it looks to be right about that spot here, so I'm hitting the roof now, and this is roughly about where the it's supposed to end. So what follows along this stud that you have going up there, that stud you have going up there, and all the ones going down there are completely fine. So as long as I keep it behind all of this, I'm going to have 30mm insulation on it, and it actually follows directly through to the beam that I have standing over here. Let me just flick the camera around and show it to you. So you see that beam that stands over there, this one I'm pointing at right now. So we are going to stick to those measurements. I've patched that area also over here in that area below the, I don't know what you call that, piece that goes out right there. But what I figured out when I'm quite happy that we're replacing these stud wall up here is, and I'm coming a bit closer now, is to have a look at the color difference that you see between these ones. So this is definitely molten. This is alright wood, timber. I've mentioned a few times that I didn't think that this property was built well enough at the first place, and I'm still not fully convinced of that. But I'm definitely going to give it my best shot and make sure that everything is built up properly from where it is right now. We're not going to do too much more, and not going to replace the flooring. We're just going to put new floorboards on top of it. And we need to get that done before I can start building the skeleton or the stud wall up here, so that I can fill in the insulation and I can then close this wall off. I was considering taking down this wall. I need to really be aware of that hole that we have right here. I was considering taking down the rest of the wall here to make it easier to build it up, and if I ask my brother, he's probably going to ask me to pull everything down and then just start from the beginning. But my uncle said it's going to be a lot of work, and I know already now how much work that this part has been, so I'm not planning on putting down this. We're trying to repair what we have right here, and then we're going to plaster over it and repaint it. Because the window that I have here in the background, since this is not leaking, then it would be pointless for me to throw down this entire wall. And these studs that I'm seeing here are already in the right angle, so I'm going to keep these as it is right now. And I just need to go and fill in a few ones. I need to figure out whether these are the right size though, because I'm a bit unconvinced of that. So I need to figure out that part. And then we're going to build up a new stud wall here. A final quick element that I wanted to just throw out in the air right now is, I was planning on taking down this wall here today. Didn't have the time to do it. Don't have the time to do another trip to the tip, so I'll leave it for now, and then we'll take care of that next week, and that's not going to be an issue. However, I'm going to reinstate the wall going out here, and then I'm going to build out a wall going out here. And the question is then if I can make this, as I'm pointing right now, into a room, and then have a door here that opens up diagonally, either this way or that way. I don't know, I think it's actually going to be better that way, because we're going to have the skeleton running that direction here, and I want to, like, the ideal scenario would be to have 3 rooms up here. And that's sort of like why I wanted to move that ventilation area. So what I need to do next weekend, because I don't have the time to do it now, is I need to figure out sort of like what layout I could be doing, and then I'm probably going to put in some small walls, also small doors that are 70 centimeters wide. That's a bit wider than what I am. I think it could be a solution that is doable. That's at least what my uncle suggested to me to give it a shot. So I'm definitely going to check that out, because by opening it up so that we could have an extra room up here would be amazing. It would open up so many more opportunities for the new family that's going to live here, which is yet to be decided. But all in all, amazing progress over Christmas and New Year's. I've spent all of my time up here. My family haven't really seen much of me, so I need to go back now, because I've got work tomorrow, and then I've got 4 days of work, and then I'll be back on the weekend. So I'll see you in the next video.